Bam! What's up, everybody? It is Friday, March 28th, and we've done it. We've finally done it. 2 Ghost Files live in a row. I'm your host, Vincent DiSanti, and I want to welcome you to the Womp Stomp Films YouTube channel for another edition of the Ghost Files Live. This is episode number 41, and if you're not a subscriber already, I would be very appreciative if you would go down and subscribe to the channel now, like this video, start spreading it around and getting other people involved. Tonight is going to be a big night for Friday the 13th fans because finally, after some long-awaited news, not just rumors or people are thinking about things, we finally have a signing for the Crystal Lake TV show. I keep screwing up her name, and I have to look at it one more time because I just have too many. Where is she? I know she's in here. Linda Cardellini. That's right. Cardellini. I shouldn't mess that up because I'm Italian, but I didn't want to mess it up because I'm Italian. So yes, Linda Cardellini has signed on to play Pamela Voorhees in the upcoming Peacock streaming series Crystal Lake, which is being showrun by Brad Caleb Kane. He just recently completed Derry, Welcome to Derry. He was on Black Sails and a few other things. And there's a big mystery surrounding, the TV show in the last few years. I mean, as a Friday the 13th fan, creating Friday the 13th content, there's nothing more that I've wanted, even though we create fan films, is to get some new Friday the 13th material and hoping that the fans could sort of kick things into gear. And we've heard, spatterings over the years. It's been a start and stop. They got started prior to, this show got started prior to the strikes with Brian Fuller and got paused during that. And by the time they came back, things changed. Brian Fuller left. Brad Caleb Kane came on. There was a lot of silence in between. Fans kept speculating that there wasn't going to be a show. And then Linda Cardellini was rumored to be playing Pamela. We didn't know how much, real heat or sauce there was to that. And now finally she's officially signed. It was released everywhere. It was one of the biggest horror stories this week. So we're going to jump into that tonight. That's going to be the lead. We'll talk about some Never Hike Alone. If you guys want to throw some questions, that's going to be good. But before we do go any further, let's hop into the chat. Let's see who's hanging out this week. But before I do that, bing, there we go. All right, let's see. First person in the stream is Crater Films. Hey, I'm Crafter from the streams, just on a different account, but I want to say that you inspired me to start filmmaking. Well, that's really cool to hear. Yeah, independent filmmaking is anyone can do it. That's the great thing about it. You just have to, find a way to get it done, and you can create stuff and release it. So I wish you all the best as you go. Sam Hay Knight's here, and he thinks that Linda Cardellini can knock it out of the park. I do agree. We'll get into that in a little bit. Saludo des Puerto Rico from Puerto Rico. Well, Luis, welcome to the show. Michael Wallace says hello. What's up, buddy? Thank you for looking forward to the thoughts. Alley Girl's here, one of my favorites, and another lifer. Anna is here. How's it going, everyone? How's it going with me? It's not too bad this week. It's been an up and down one. The Murkoff Corporation is saying hello. Def Leppard is here. Holy shit. One-armed drummer and all. Backtrack Cinemas. Hey, what's up, Backtrack Cinema? Good to see you guys. There he is, Casey Dwayne Alexander. Good to see you, buddy. One of our upcoming missing persons posters in the Ghosts in the Fog. Crawling Chaos is excited that we're going to have some Crystal Lake news. Pirate Copies here. You kids stay out of there. The camp's closed. Crawling. Oh, Ethan's here. What's up, man? Hey, Vin, glad I'm finally getting to see some more news on the show. Linda's a great actress. I agree. Momo Squid's a chicken. What's up, idiot? I'm going to break your legs, kid. Joe Gallo in the chat, everybody. Cheesy Corn Pop. Look at you with the Freddy versus Jason icon. Love it. Greg Harris. Hey, awesome mail call today. Got my Blu-ray and signed posters. That's awesome. Thank you. And I'll continue to support future projects. Really appreciate that, Greg. Yeah, I can do a quick update on that in a second. We'll get through the rest of these. Happy Friday, Vinny and everyone. I'm presently watching from a Moose Lodge in my town. Moose Lodge. That's awesome. Let's see. And Tyler Adams is in the chat. VFX artist extraordinaire, Motorcycle US. Hey, yeah. Or Motorcycleus. I'm just saying Motorcycleus. I think I said it right. I think I got it. So yeah. Hey Vince, I received my 3 Never Hike Alone Brothers this week. Thank you. Also another one. Yeah. So let's jump into that real quick. Hey, don't worry, Gallo's name, we got a thing going. It's all right, Murkoff. We don't need to do anything. I'll break his legs on my own time. Anyway, yeah, things have been continuing to ship out this week. We made a good shipment the other day. I dropped off a good 150, 200 packages. We're very much closing in on 50% of all the US domestic orders. There are roughly 3,000 domestic orders, and we were at 1,450. It's been a very busy week this week, so there really hasn't been a lot of progress. You can actually see some of the stuff behind me, our shipping station back there, along with that cool Friday the 13th poster. We're also trying the 3/4 angle again this week. I figured I'm going to mix it up and see what I like. I like this angle. I went back and saw a couple episodes, and I was like, you know what? I think this might be a better way to do it. And obviously for the show tonight, I got the official Camp Crystal Lake camper t-shirt, which was available in the Never Hike Alone 2 campaign. So backers, if you did get this will be shipping out very soon. These have been in stock for like 2 years. I feel bad that we've had them for so long in storage. And I can't wait for people to start walking around with them. And it's going to be the perfect time for people to have these. I've always been a fan of this logo. I think it's a cool thing. Oh, Davey Deathray is here. What's up, buddy? Hey, everyone. Happy Friday, y'all. So what was I talking about with my ADHD brain? Anyway, yeah, so things are shipping out. There'll be more shipping this weekend. I do want to give everyone a heads up. There is going to be a slight slowdown in shipping very soon. My schedule is about to pick up and be very, very busy this weekend. I have to prepare for taxes. I'm also preparing for the New Bedford Film Festival, which is taking place April 10th through the 13th in New Bedford, Mass. Our home base is going to be at Steeple Playhouse. And Gallery X, as well as the Harbor Hotel. So if you're a filmmaker in the Southern New England area, or even the North Mid-Atlantic, or anywhere in the world, if you want to come out and visit us, tickets are on sale right now at newbedfordfilmfestival.com. They're fairly inexpensive. You're going to see a wonderful slew of films over the weekend. It's not a genre festival, so it's not just horror films, although there are some good thrilling horror thrillers in the festival this year that will definitely be cool to check out. We just picked all of our winners for the award ceremony last week, and I'm going to be working all weekend as the acting tech director for the film festival to download all the films. Going to get them all organized and, just tech check everything, and then we got to get ready and do some checks for the coming weekend. So this weekend, we're not going to be able to ship as much. Next weekend, I am not going to be here for Ghost Files. I am also not going to be around to do any shipping. I'm going to be actually traveling to go see some family. It is my nephew's first birthday, so I'm going to go out and visit. Oh, shit, I shouldn't be saying that because I'm actually supposed to be surprising people. Anyway, don't tell anybody I said that. But anyway, I want to be doing that. But I'm also going to be working with and collaborating with a group of friends. I don't know if I can say what I'm doing yet, but I will be acting in something very soon. So once I have more news on that, I'm sure I'll be posting about it on Womp Stomp Films on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all that fun stuff. So if you follow me there, definitely check out next weekend because I will be on set for a new project that's going to be a co-collaboration with Womp Stomp Films, Odyssey of the Odd, and a few other channels that put together some really cool content. These are the same people we made Happy Halloween with, so this is going to be a really good time. After that week, it will be the New Bedford Film Festival. So again, I'm going to be super busy. I'm not going to be shipping much per then. During the week, there will be pockets where I'll be able to get, 25, 50, packages out here or there. And then after that, we're going to pick right back up. I'm hoping that the VHS tapes land within that time because that's going to open up a whole new swath of people that can start receiving their perks. A lot of people are like on standby, and the only thing I'm waiting for is their VHS tape. But while I'm here and while we're talking about VHS tapes, I did plug something off the shelf that has come in, and I may have shown it before, but maybe I haven't. But I want to show everybody the special edition Never Hike Alone Adam's art box, Adam Michaels version. This is the same artwork that was on the vinyl. This is the special edition VHS that we did. It comes in like the rental plastic cover. But the cool thing about this one, the thing that's a standout, is, and man, I got these things like years ago, and thank God I did. They're a little tough to come out. Anyway, so now it's out of the package. You can kind of see it more for there. You can see the side. You can see the back. Old Tommy Salami right there, or right there, me, Drew. This is done by Tape, same company, Tapeworm Video. The cool thing about this one, red tape. You like that, huh? Wouldn't that look good on your shelf? So anyway, yeah, this is the original Never Hike Alone, the special editions. anyone who ordered those, we will be putting those packages together pretty soon. I'm going to isolate you, but a lot of you who got that also got Never Hike Alone 2 Blu-rays, and not Never Hike Alone 2 Blu-rays, but Never Hike Alone VHS tapes. So we'll make sure that those go out pretty soon. And we're going to get to talking about this. I just want to make sure this goes back. You know what? We can just put this down for now. I won't fiddle with it for now. You guys are loving it. Hey, Mardina's here. Oh, and somebody's got a birthday. Luca's birthday. Who's that? Well. Damn, it's beautiful. Blockbuster days. Yep, I'm all into that. So let's get to the nitty gritty for the week. Let's see. It's around 8:12. I think it's probably going to be about another. I don't know if Jimmy's on this one. I don't think Jimmy's on specifically on this one, but it's more Cortland and PG and a few other people like that. Ryan Becker, who's a favorite, who's going to be Hiker Man 5000 and Never Hike Alone 3 when we get around to that. Excuse me there. So let's talk a little bit about Friday the 13th, the announcement that was made this week. And then we'll just start to kind of go from there. I'm going to talk about my feelings about sort of, the direction that everything's going. Obviously, there's not a lot to go on, so this is a lot of speculation. There is a little bit that I know from behind the scenes, but I can't get too in-depth about some of the stuff that I knew about what was coming. So I'm just going to make my best guess to some of these things based on what I've heard and what I think fans could expect. And I think that we can also, talk about the good and the bad of what's kind of coming in. So I'm going to switch my view for a second. So you're going to have to give me a little leeway. So we're going to go bing bong. And then we're going to go bong bong. And there we go. So first of all, let's start off with our major headline. So Linda Cardellini set as Pamela Voorhees in the Friday the 13th prequel series, Crystal Lake on Peacock. This was released on Deadline, I believe, on Tuesday. And it really, it shook the whole world. I wasn't expecting to see this news so early, and it had been so long since the previous announcement that it was very interesting that it sort of popped up. And firstly, the fact that there's any momentum and that there are things progressing forward, that is very, very good news. And one thing that now that I'm thinking about it, I wish I did. If you are following Brad Caleb Kane on Instagram, which I suggest that you do, he was in Blairstown a week ago doing scouting at the cemetery, the famous cemetery that they drive by on the way to part one. He was at Camp Nobi Bosco. So he was around Blairstown, New Jersey. And I can't remember the name of the other township that's also a part of it. It's not just Blairstown. But he was out there scouting the week before this happened. So that's a lot of good sign that fans like me who are starved for Friday the 13th content, it's good news. It means that he's out there scouting. They're moving forward, or they're at least getting ready to move forward. And until it comes out and it's released, as we've seen complete shows and movies made that never see the light of day. So you never know. But this is, from what I understand, they've invested a lot in this, and it would be even more to lose it. And if they're going to spend the money, they might as well go anyway. So let's read the story. Linda Cardellini, Dead to Me, No Good Deed, has closed a deal to star as Pamela Voorhees in Peacock's Friday the 13th expanded prequel series, Crystal Lake from A24. Brad Caleb Kane serves as creator, writer, showrunner, and executive producer of the series, whose premise is being kept under wraps. Cardellini's Pamela is believed to be a mother who had given up a singing career to raise a special needs child and take a dark turn when she loses her son. In the Friday the 13th movies, Pamela is the mother of Jason Voorhees and a main antagonist. She was portrayed by Betsy Palmer in the original film. The role was subsequently been played by Marilyn Poucher, Paula Shore, Nana Visitor in various sequels, crossover, and reboot movies. Crystal Lake is executive produced by A24, Kane, which I don't know who that is, Mark Toberoff, Victor Miller. So that's the team right there that originally sued Sean Cunningham for the rights. Robert M. Barsimian and Robert P. Barsimian. No, those are the original members, or their family members of the original members of the original Horror Inc. group that Sean Cunningham belongs to, and Stuart Manischel. So he may also be a part of that group. He may also be a part of A24. and that group as well. So that is the main group that is producing it. There's a little blurb at the end where Cardellini is filming the female lead role in HBO's upcoming limited series DTF St. Louis opposite Jason Bateman and David Harbour. She was one of the leads in season 1's Netflix mystery comedy Dead to Me, whose future is still in limbo, though Cardellini's arc largely wrapped in the finale. She is repped by CAA and Jackaway Austin Tierman. The funny thing about like these deadline things, it's always just like a big wax off for people in like the agency world to say who signed the deal and who repped it and like who did what. So let's go back to this image and talk, or we can talk about that. But I think for me, the thing that really stood out, I mean, obviously they're keeping a lot of things under wraps, but it seemed odd that if they're keeping the premise under wraps, they let go this little detail of that she is a mother who had to give up a singing career to raise a special needs child and takes a dark turn when she loses her son. So this is where I would say the show has risen its first red flag for me. And it's not that I'm against singing. It's not that I don't like singers, but knowing that in the current version of film and television that we are currently getting, most seasons are 8 episodes. How much of this series is going to be dedicated to Pamela in a singing career? Because I think what fans really want to see is they want to see Pamela and Jason at the camp. And we want to get as much of that story as possible. And everything that kind of happens outside of it, you know, I can see happening in flashback and spurts. But if they spend too much time getting to Camp Crystal Lake, I think that that is going to be a really tough time for fans who are honestly, there's so many of them. When I posted about this on Tuesday and been talking about it all week, the number one pushback that I've seen from fans is that all they want to do is see Jason. Even today, I was getting blown up by Anthony Horrocks in my messages saying, why do you love this show? It's not going to have Jason. And what are we even doing about it? And, you know, and I hear that, you know, as a fan who is obviously starved for anything that they can, I'm interested in what they're doing. I believe that Pamela has the right to earn some space before the show eventually makes way for Jason. And I think that there are certain storytelling techniques that they could use at their disposal in order to keep things relevant. So we're not waiting too long for what people really want to see is, you know, Pamela killing people and eventually Jason killing people. And I think that my message to Friday the 13th fans at this time is that whether or not you believe in the direction or not, we at least have to show up and see if we can give it enough, you know, support by watching it. So that if we do want to see Jason, our best bet to seeing him sooner than later is that if this show seems to at least hold its own as far as a good drama and a good narrative, that if we hold out, it will eventually reward us with the Jason action. But in the meantime, what are they going to do with Pamela? What are they going to do with Jason? How are they going to tell that story? How much of it is going to be set at camp? How much of it is going to be set behind? And I think that one thing that really sort of stuck out to me as a potential negative of her being a singing career is one thing I didn't want to see. And I think a lot of fans sort of agree with me on this, was that this concept that she has to give up her singing career to take care of her child. And if that is going to be a point of contention between her and Jason. And that's something that in my version of Pamela and the way that I've always thought of her and the, you know, kind of, you know, thought about her in like the Never Hike Alone universe, or just even from what I've read for Betsy Palmer and all of those different things, which I'm going to get into something about Betsy in a little bit. It just never really struck me as something that was a part of their relationship. I've always got this like kind of sense that like they were really tight, like whatever happened to Pamela for her to have that child and be on her own, she loved that child to death and she didn't have to give up anything. She chose Jason. And I think the words of giving up means that there could be some contention of like, she's stuck with this kid. And I don't think that bodes well for the proper relationship for them to have her have a real visceral reaction for the fact that she lost her son. And in a way, this could set up more of a selfish storyline where she's just mad because not only did she give up her career, but now she lost her son and she's lost everything. And so there's a little something to that. And I think that the more I thought about it, because it's like, obviously when we hear ideas, sometimes it's like our brain rushes to the worst case scenario. And I think that as I started to ponder about it and think about the best case scenario, is that I do hope that in the show, that whoever Pamela was, that if she was a singer, the other question is, was she a famous singer? Do people know who she is when they see her as a cook at Camp Crystal Lake? Are they like, didn't I see you singing at the thing? And yeah, now I'm doing this because I got a kid. And, I think her attitude when people sort of want to feel bad for her is that she's like, no, I love my son and I would do anything for him. You know what I mean? I think that that's who Pamela is to me. And I think that that's sort of what makes her crazy and what makes her different from most people. She doesn't harbor contentment. She has come, I think that what has happened is that it's her and her child against the world. And when you have that, you're going to get this real bond that's going to then give you the engine that will drive all the seasons that will follow, because Pamela is acting because of her son and Jason is acting because of her mother. And it's one thing we've always talked about in Never Hike Alone, is how the films really departed from adding Pamela into the story mix. Part 2 had of it a little bit, and then we lost the head for all those years. And one of the biggest things, I thought the biggest mistakes, was if you lose the head, or if you bring the head back, it's such a great tool in order to use. So I'm wondering if we get a little bit more of the shrine, we get a little bit more of that stuff, that once we get to Pamela's death, that we will get there. And I think that, the show can survive a slow and maybe boring and maybe not even all that great season 1, as long as what follows with Jason, and if there's a tease for Jason, I think that's going to keep people interested. I just hope that, in the meantime, with this show, that they can set up a good foundation for them to really build off of what Jason is going to be in the next 3 seasons. The big question to ask is Jason going to be an undead revenant, or is he going to have somehow survived the drowning and, existed in the woods and ran away? And maybe, there could be a version of this story where Jason and Pamela's, this Jason's becoming a teenager. He's sort of craving his own independence, craving friendship, and they could butt heads, and he could run away for a while. And he could run away thinking that maybe if I run away, I'll make my mom's life better and I'll just go live in the woods because no one wants to be my friend anyway. And she gets devastated and thinks everyone, is responsible for his death, and she's only mistaken. I think that has always rubbed me the wrong way, but I think that it can be executed in a way that may be believable, because you're going to get to a point in the season. I think there's going to be two, like, based on these things, I know that there's going to probably be 2 things. And this isn't anything I've heard. This is just my best guess of like 2 big moments that are going to happen. One, that if Pamela is a singer, the people around her are going to encourage her to re-engage with that part of her life, because she has a talent and a skill that's not being shared with the world. And they're going to ask her to do something like sing at a pageant or sing at a show or sing at the camp. And she's going to have to be away from Jason for a little bit. And it's going to be during that moment where she's standing in the shining light, where Jason is going to make a decision about maybe leaving his mother forever, or it's going to be the moment while she's been convinced to sing, he is going to be drowning in the lake. And they're going to have this, this parallaxing sort of like she's singing her heart out and finally reconnecting with this talent that she hasn't had and hasn't been able to share with people in a long time. In the meantime, you got Jason being like, "Whoa, help me, mommy!" So it's good. That would be, I think, pretty poetic and dramatic as far as like a scene to have there. And then I think you're going to get the scene that Friday the 13th, 2009 kind of screwed up, which was, as we watch Pamela get beheaded, that is when Jason is going to sort of be there lurking in the shadows, watching his mother, scared to approach her because she's been running around with a machete. He wants to come home and tell her that he's okay, but she's got a machete, so he's scared of her and he hides. And then in the process of not coming out and tell her that he's alive, she ends up dying, in which Jason harbors all this guilt, grabs her head, and runs off into the forest. And we start to go into season 2 and season 3 about this and how it expands. The other thing about this series, because I just saw somebody post something, Steve. So you have a very good point here. The show should be called Camp Crystal Lake, not just Crystal Lake. Here is where I'm going to disagree with you. because I was just about to get into this point, which is I love that it's called Crystal Lake, because now we're going to learn a little bit more about the people in the town. We're going to learn a little bit more about the history of the camp. We're going to learn a little bit more about the history of the Christies and the relationship between the Christies and the town. And I can tell you that from experience of going to Blairstown, the relationship between the town and the Camp Nobi Bosco, as far as how they treat Friday the 13th material, they don't always agree on things, and they don't really like each other. And so I think that there is a, real life inspiration in the sense that it's tough for the Christies to be at this camp because they're surrounded by people that don't really support them, because no one believes that they should be there. And I really hope that the backstory that they bring about is that nobody has ever wanted a camp there. Nobody has ever wanted to develop out there. The Christies did it against everyone's word. And going out there has always been bad luck, dating all the way back to when there were Native Americans in the area. And in fact, one thing I learned about New Jersey in the context of researching some things was that there were no Native Americans in the area of where Camp Crystal Lake is, which I think is an interesting thing that you could write into the story, and the fact that you could say that this place is so cursed that the natives knew to avoid it, and that the white man going in to sort of, make it spot there was sort of like their own what's the word? Arrogance. You know what I mean? That, these silly superstitions and all those things, but bad things it's sort of like Derry, Maine. You know what I mean? It's like bad things have just sort of always happened here, and nobody can explain why. And that Jason and Pamela sort of get caught up in that mechanism. They sort of become the next piece of it that plays out. And maybe there were earlier versions of where this played out, and those things kind of played out where a supernatural thing could eventually come up. But I don't think they're going to go there. I think they're going to keep this fairly grounded. I think they're finally going to give fans who I believe are more fans of parts 2, 3, and 4, the real OG fans, the old school fans are really, I think, going to like, if you're an old school fan, I think you're going to like this version. Because it's that version that everyone likes, thinking that he's alive through most of those films, when sort of up for debate, versus the undead version that we all know comes back in part 6 and is like the fine line for everybody, as far as like, we know he's undead then, and it's a little bit blurry between 2 and 4 about what he really is. So that side of it. But going back to something, and obviously I wish I could keep up with your comments, but it's tough because I'm obviously riffing here. Here's something I wanted to bring up. Hang on. What am I doing? Boy, I'm messing up. Oh God. Hide current comment. There we go. So one thing I wanted to bring up about before I go any forward was, I've always been obviously a big historian of Friday the 13th. I've read all the books. I've watched all the BTS. And so when they originally announced this show, I immediately, recalled what Betsy Palmer had said about the character many, many years ago. And so I brought this thing up. It's something I made a long time ago, but this is from On Location at Blairstown, author David Grove. It was published in 2013. And if you have that book, if you want to look it up, on pages 106 through 107, there's an interview with Betsy Palmer. And Betsy Palmer wasn't given a backstory for Pamela Voorhees. She just is told that her son is drowned. And then she found out during filming that he was also deformed. And so it was just sort of a shock to her. But this was her explanation for who Pamela was. And I think it's a pretty good one. So I do want to share it with fans, and I'll read it out. Being an actress who uses the Stanislavski method, there we go, I always try to find details about my character. With Pamela, oddly enough, I began with the class ring that I remember reading in the script that she'd worn. Starting with that, I traced Pamela back to my own high school days back in early 1940s. So it's 1944, a very conservative time, and Pamela has a steady boyfriend. They have sex, which is very bad, of course, and Pamela gets pregnant with Jason. The father takes off, and you'll see I bolded that. And when Pamela tells her parents, they disown her because of having premarital sex, which, having babies out of wedlock, isn't something that good girls do. I think that she took Jason and raised him the best that she could, but he turned out to be a very strange boy. Anyway, I imagine her taking lots of odd jobs, and one of those jobs was a cook at a summer camp. Then Jason drowns and her whole world collapses. What were the counselors doing instead of watching Jason? They were having sex, which is the way that she got into into trouble. So from that point on, Pamela became very psychotic and puritanical in her attitudes, and she was determined to kill all the immoral camp counselors. too long didn't read for everybody. There's no Elias, there's no rape, and there's no Necronomicon. And so this was something that I made a long time ago, and there was a lot of debate about this stuff, about how would you build a Pamela series. I really hope there is not a lot of Elias. You know what I mean? I don't hope he doesn't stick around. I hope that whoever fathers Jason ditches Pamela on day one, and that becomes the wound that sort of connects her to her child. And that is the only thing that she has. It's in a time where, you know, aborting a baby really isn't even an option for a woman at times. This is not when, you know, it was very easy to do. Women who wanted to seek out abortions really, you know, that had to, it was like back alley stuff, you know, at this point in time, if you didn't have the money, and it was, you know, considered, you know, obviously, like she said, it's a very conservative time. And so you would understand why this girl would have the baby. She would be out on her own. She would be living on the road. And to me, that is one of the aspects of this show that I think would be interesting. And I think it would be, if I could structure it, I would say that I would love to see a little bit of them sort of in one situation where we see why their relationship as a mother and son doesn't always work out for them. You know, say that she's a waitress at a diner in another town, or maybe she's a singer at a nightclub, and, you know, Jason's in the back room and he's spying on the girls who are changing in the back room, and they all get scared when they see him. And so she gets fired because she can't control her son, and they have to move to the next town, and then they get a job at Camp Crystal Lake. And that's when they start to meet the people, and they start to be welcomed into the town. And you start to see that there is this sort of, you know, they have their guard up, because in every place, eventually they run out their welcome, and they have to move on. So they don't really put their stakes down. They don't really get to know people. And the difference about Crystal Lake is that this is the first place where they're going to feel accepted. This is the first place where they feel like they're actually going to be able to be themselves. Even though I believe that Jason will still be dealing with issues of people bullying him, but he will probably make a friend or two. There will probably be somebody that he befriends that there is going to be a series arc with in later episodes where they're going to cross paths again. Who knows? Maybe they're going to crunch time down, and this isn't going to take place between 1957 and 1979. Maybe everything's going to happen in 1 year, meaning that Jason is going to drown that summer, and then he's going to run away that summer, and then before he comes back, she's going to kill everybody then. It's not just going to be Barry and Claudette. It's going to be a complete massacre of the entire camp all at once. Or there's going to be a Barry and Claudette incident, and then there's going to be wonder if they're going to open up the camp again. How much time passes in between that? That's a huge question mark. Are they going to condense that? And can they? I think that's something that they can do. I think that it would be a smart thing to do, because it would sort of just overlap a few things going. I think you'd just be able to get more building character interaction. And that's going to be something that is to keep an eye out for, is a big decision that is made, along with, you know, whether Jason is actually alive or if he has returned from the grave. From there, I think, you know, one of the things about the camp that I would love to see them explore is the hypocrisy of acceptance and false positivity. That there are people in your life that when they see somebody downtrodden or down on hard lucks, it's an opportunity for them to virtue signal and sort of lift people up, and sort of to lift their own selves up, to say, like, we're helping out this poor mother and their son, and look how good people we are. Let's do, we're going to get you to sing, Pamela, and we're going to take care of your kid. Don't worry, somebody's going to watch your kid. You're going to be fine. You know what I mean? And there's going to be a lot of assurances. And then when Jason goes missing and Pamela looks for somebody to take accountability, or there's some sort of punishment for somebody, for obviously whoever is responsible for Jason's death, that they were off smoking pot and having sex and they weren't, you know, watching Jason, that's what's going to turn her, is the fact that these people welcomed her in, made her feel comfortable, made her feel safe. She put her walls down, and then they betrayed her. And then we're going to watch Pamela do what she does best. And so I would say that one thing that fans should probably, I can actually get rid of this for now. No, we're going to leave it up. What fans are going to be, you know, they're really worried about is sort of, you know, in the context of all this, what are we going to get for kills? What are we going to get for the horror aspect? Because we're Friday the 13th fans, and we tune in. And I think one person said on Twitter, I'm giving it 90 minutes. And if it doesn't give me what I want in 90 minutes, I'm turning it out. And I think that the show has a challenge, because if you were to pitch Pamela's story, you would say, well, let's start at the beginning and, watch them go through their adventure. And then, around, episode 5 or 6, Jason drowns and we see the building tension. We kind of spread things out for the next couple of episodes, and then all the massacres at the end of the season. If they do that, they may not have any viewers by the end of the season, and it will be too late to capture everybody. My feeling is a solution to that I would pitch would be the first episode, the very first scene, the very first everything that happens should be Jason is missing. And you get to a point where you have Pamela isolated, where it's almost like the Pamela tapes. And you hear her story. And as she tells her story, that's how we get our flashbacks. And through the first episode, we're sort of getting pulled into it and getting part of it. And then the other part is that there's probably some other type of murder along the way. And we're going to see Pamela sort of killing people in the present throughout the series and throughout the episodes. And she's going to be picking people off one by one. And I think things are going to be elongated. And I think in the episodes, we're going to get moments of flashbacks where we're going to see certain things that make her remember her child. There's going to be certain things that she recalls, or there's going to be certain things that are going to have to come out where these things are going to crossbreed. I don't know if we're going to get a complete linear series. We're going to watch like conception, birth, traveling on the road, then we're at camp, then he drowns, then Barry and Claudette, then the years pass. There's all the vandalism, and not vandalism, but there's all the sabotage, and then 79 happens, and it's the long night at Camp Blood. That would be, I don't know if fans are going to stick around for that. I'm going to be all in just on the story aspect of it. I want to know Pamela's story. I really want to dig in on it. But I see the challenges are out there, and I understand, because most fans, what they're saying is, what about Jason? What is Jason going to be in this thing? And that's going to be the next big question mark that's going to be out there for everyone, is what is Jason? What is going to be the approach to Jason? And, when are they going to start casting? What is he going to look like? When is the hockey mask going to be introduced? Is the sack going to be a part of the films, which the show, it probably will be. And I think that it would behoove, everyone on this team to sort of figure out a way that, like, yes, do what you got to do to tell Pamela's story, but you got to give us something that really entices people to stick around for a few seasons. And even if it means that you're casting for season 2 and 3 right now for your adult Jason, that we get both things, and maybe we get some flashes into the future. Like, maybe, here's another idea. What if the first episode is taking place 4 years from the long night at Camp Blood, and it's actually happening during the night of Jason's long night at Camp Blood, the weekend of Camp Blood? You know what I mean? And they're talking about Jason being on the loose, and the way that they get through Jason being the primary focus of sort of some of these scenes that we can show that are happening in sort of what would be considered a present day scenario, or a more recent day scenario, that as people are talking about that it could be Jason, the story of Jason is told and the story of Pamela is told. And so you can kind of maybe mix that in where, there is this sense that Jason is out there. I have a feeling that if they're going to touch upon doing kills in the first season, I don't know how much. I wonder how, like, one question I would have is, I wonder how much they are actually going to show. Are they going to go back to Friday the 13th part 1 and part 2 and part 5, happy birthday to part 5, by the way, again, where you don't see the killer. Most of the kills are done not off screen, but it's a hand, it's a weapon, it's a under the bed, thing through the neck. You never see the killer. You just know that people are getting killed. And so I think that may be a way around that. If they can get really good gore, and I'm pretty sure they're going to hire some pretty rad effects people, which I'm excited about, which will be another, big thing. I think that may be a way for them to get around sort of like the anticipation for some of the fans that Pamela's just not going to be able to cut the mustard as far as like keeping us there. Oh, Anna just dropped a super chat. Thank you, Anna. Thanks, Vincent, for your take. I wish you were involved. Me too. I do wish I was involved. I did interview for the show when Brian Fuller was running it. So maybe I'll get another chance, and then I can't do these anymore. But in the meantime, I want to talk about it. If I don't get a chance to work on the show, I think that my next thing to do to sort of spend time and get through it is we're going to be doing a lot of Ghost Files. And when we're in the seasons of Crystal Lake, we're going to be, I want to be the Chris Hardwick of the post show, of being able to rally fans and talk about what we're seeing, try to just process what's been on there. And that would be really, really cool. But, going back to this and what about Jason? So I think that they have a lot of, they got a lot of work to do. They got to come up with a new hockey mask. They got to come up with a new sack look. They got to come up with a new look for Jason. They got to cast a young Jason. They got to cast an adult Jason. Is young Jason at 12 years old going to be a little bit of a mongoloid and a big kid, maybe already 6 feet tall? Are they going to try to maybe fix some of that in the size discrepancy? Because obviously one of the continuity areas that we all ask about is, how did Jason, if he died, go from a young boy in the lake to a 6'3" killing machine, right? So that's definitely something that's going to have to be figured out and answered along the way. And I think that that's kind of the coolest part about this whole thing, is that for once, someone starting at the beginning of Friday the 13th, they don't have to rush through anything. Bruce dropping a super chat. Then you are Jason. You are the future of the franchise. You rock. Now Hollywood needs to know about you. I wish, that would be, as much as I would love to direct an episode, I think the only other thing that would make me flip is if they let me play Jason. I don't know if they'd let me do it. But I'm in good shape for it now. And it would be a lot of fun. But beyond that, I think that for me, I've always wanted to see Friday the 13th. What would your Jason for the show look like? Well, I showed you guys kind of an idea and you didn't like it, which was something a little unique. Maybe I'll pull that stuff up later in a little bit. I will get to that in a second. That is a good question. But what I want to say is, what did I want to say? But yeah, this is going to be a whole new Jason. You know what I mean? This is going to be something. What would I do? I'm of the school of, I live in the world of Jason died and came back, when he drowned. So I would like to do the Revenant story. I believe, that something, when supernatural things get involved, I think he would grow. I think that he would just basically pick up where he left off and then start to grow into an adult form. And his, growth over that time while he was in the woods feeding and sort of doing all that stuff would be misaligned and exaggerated and even uglier than he really would have been in real life. I think that would be a cool kind of thing for them to follow. But like I said, I think my instinct on this, because Brad seems like an old school fan, and he's not going to be taken down that road, that you're going to see Jason as a young boy. It's going to be sympathetic. I know that for, young Jason, I would do all the hydrophalic stuff, maybe a hair lip. And most of all, I think that he would just be a sweet boy. I think that Jason would be a curious young budding teenager who is trying to figure out who he is. I think that he's smarter than people think. His appearance makes people think he's dumb, and they talk slow to him and all that stuff. Oh, thanks, Mike Wallace. I really appreciate it. And, they talk slow and all that stuff, but really he's, and maybe that's something that Pamela could say, is be like, he's not dumb. He's ugly. He's not dumb. And sort of that type of Jason, so that when we get to Jason existing in the woods, that he's going to be oh my God, we need to let him rest to cast Vincent as Jason. Please. I would love that. Hang on, let me take a sip of this. So I think what they want to do is they want to set up a Jason that when we see him go in the woods to run away from Pamela, that he's smart. He's a Boy Scout. He can take care of himself. He builds his own shelter. He knows how to hide from people. And that when he has to do this later on in life, that we know that he's a survivalist. And I think that would be the Jason. So survivalist Jason would be my Jason. I don't think you'd get a lot of overalls. I don't think you'd get a lot of that stuff, but I think you'd see somebody who has not a bandolier, but he has stuff to carry stuff through the woods. He's very crafty. He can create things. He can create traps. He's, his mask is what he wears is sort of you know, it's a contoured hood like the 2009 remake, and his stuff is sort of look at this backtrack cinema. I would like to see Camp Blood Massacre being a big episode where it's a big massacre and you see why it's called Camp Blood. I agree. Bam, we're gonna go back to DR real quick because I'm basically answering his question. So let me just keep that up there. So he would be a survivalist Jason. I think that, you know, everything, the clothes are ratty. I would definitely want to keep it as close to actually, do I have that still? I wonder if I still have that background. I want to add a background real quick. I want to show you guys something. I may have deleted it a long time ago. Oh, boing, 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 boing. Oh, I don't have it. Oh, wait. That's all Jason Universe stuff. Where are you? Because I did like the, oh, here we go. Bam. So that's not really it though. All right, there we go. Bam. So hang on a second. Waiting for this to load. I'm gonna have to make myself a tiny man. Bee, holy shit. Boom. So you see this guy right here. I think that this is a Revenant Jason that was created. I'm gonna hide the comment real quick so I'm not hit it. Boop. Boop. There we go. So this was a Jason that was done by a 3D artist. I don't have the name. I'm very sorry for not being able to bring it up right away. But this is sort of an outfit that I would love to see him in. He's got the belt. He's got this strap around the back. He could have arrows. He could have a bow and arrow. I think you'd see Jason running through the woods, hunting rabbits, hunting people, you know, eventually very First Blood Jason. I think that is what I would go with. I think I might have a First Blood episode, don't I? Yeah, I would like to see a very First Blood style Jason. I don't want to see hair. I think hair ruins the design. I think he should be I can't remember it's the thing that Derek Mears has, not eczema, but you know what I mean? Alopecia. He should have alopecia and just be completely hairless. Just the hair always looks weird, and I don't know. I think it takes away from making him look tough. The mask, as you can see here, is obviously damaged, but you know, the mask is going to be the biggest thing. And I honestly think that they should just take the ghost hawk. Now, if I'm being honest, like, there's very little that I've seen that has come close to it. I've seen a million fan films. I've seen a lot of different things. And I got to say the Ghost Hawk would be such a great thing for them to have. It should have chevrons. They should definitely start with a brand new clean mask. I don't think we're going to see the mask till the end of season 2 or the beginning of season 3, which is going to be, again, very interesting to keep the normies involved. I need to go back to my media assets. We're going to go here, and then we're going to go here. Pew. All right, cool. We'll go back to full screen now. So in the camp, I would love to see that once he takes over the camp at some point, that he's built traps and hidden rooms and things to just survive. And obviously at some point there has to be a reveal of the shrine. And again, as you're going through this, there's going to be checking in with people from town, how they're dealing with it, you know, their perspective of, you know, this phantom living in the woods and all of those different things. I think that's what makes it really interesting. Let me jump back into the comments. Oh, we got another comment here. Using the words haunted or cursed, how much of the paranormal should be involved? I myself wouldn't want that much of it. And see, so Michael, I would consider you a purist. You're a Friday the 13th purist. It's more about sort of the maniac man in the woods that Jason was in the first 3 films that he appeared as an adult. Really just that mongoloid hillbilly who's running out and murdering people versus the undead super Terminator that's, you know, running through walls and things like that. I hear you. And I think that haunted or cursed becomes a thing where haunted would be wrong because this isn't that type of supernatural show, but cursed, bad things just happen in Crystal Lake. Bad things just happen at Camp Crystal Lake, on the lake. You got to stay out of that area. That place is cursed. And I think that that should be something that that predates Pamela and Jason's arrival. I think that the curse should already be there and people talk about it, but it's sort of something that people brush off. And what Pamela becomes is sort of like, you know how like you talk things into existence? Like Pamela brings the curse into existence, like, and she sort of solidifies it and all this, and that curse becomes her revenge. The curse is her revenge. And the reason why the curse carries on is because Jason takes her revenge up and carries on the curse. And so that's how the curse can work in a non-supernatural way, is that it's actually upheld, similar to Phantom of the Opera. There's a curse over the opera that the Phantom is doing things because he's working behind the scenes until he's found out later on. And that is sort of what is going to happen here, I believe, with Jason and Pamela. They're sort of like the phantoms of this camp until their identities are revealed, and we kind of go from there. Let me see. We have, oh, wow, it's 8:50. I really filled up this hour. Freddy versus Jason is pure fanfic. Yep, it is. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw Dave McRae's post today, but he was posting the shot of me and him on the set of Dylan's New Nightmare, me and Jason there. So is Jason X fanfic? I'm kidding. I mean, kind of. I would love to see Jason X 2, though. Let me see. Do we have any things? Part 17, the curse gets worse. Actually, I like that. That's kind of funny. So yeah, I mean, I think with the last 10 minutes, I'd be happy to jump into any questions that you guys have. Let me see. Anna just posted this. I love animated and passionate Vincent gets. I love how animated and passionate Vincent gets about Friday the 13th. Yes, thank you. I do get very animated when it comes to this stuff. Do you think there will be another Friday movie in a decade? I think that there's a slim chance. So I'm not going to reveal my source, but my source told me that the original idea that everybody was pitching around when this was all going, and I don't know if this is still the idea, 4 seasons and a movie. And the movie doesn't necessarily have to relate to the show. So that's why the thing is, guys, it's not like, hey, if we don't like the TV series, they're going to jump right into a movie. If the TV series doesn't go well, it's going to be harder to get a movie made. If the TV series gets 3 to 4 solid seasons of viewership and a fan base, Stranger Things style, now all of a sudden they have a reason to take it into the film space. The other question to ask there, which is sort of unfortunate, where are films going to be in the next 4 years if they do that? You know, the theater industry is dying. This week they released a story that some theaters are considering doing sing-along screenings, pot screenings, and other things where you can talk and be on your phone during the theater, that they're going to open up that sort of stuff. And that all sounds awful. So I think they're going to be driving people home more and more. So if a movie does come out, unfortunately, I think it's going to be not in the, I don't know if it's going to go to the theater. I don't know. Like, that's going to be really tough to do. Think they'll address the attack on Chris from part 3 or stuff like that. That would be a wonderful thing if they did that. That would actually be a very smart thing for them to cover. I mean, obviously with, I can't say that really, but let's just say they trace over some of the things that are happening from the movies. If they go to Packanack, they go to Higgins Haven, and they do that stuff, that is something that they're going to want to feed into the system, and that's something that happens before the Packanack incident. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of weave that stuff in. Mardina dropping in. I hope that they have hints of the paranormal around the edges that people just accept without thinking about it too much. Unless someone does, they aren't supposed to, like an old urban legend. Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing. It's sort of, like I said, like talking it into existence. Might sort of be the way that it becomes sort of a real curse, is that they actually wish their own demise. I would want Jason to come back from the dead after Pamela's death and take an adult form, but I think that requires a dash of supernatural. The revenge curse makes sense to it. Yes, and so exactly, I think that version of the story is the same thing. Jason is the living embodiment of the death curse, and it is now something that is that's so powerful and supernatural, that her rage was so powerful it brought him back from the dead. And I think that that's another cool version of Friday the 13th that fans would they love to see. I mean, fans love part 6. They love part 7. For a little bit, and they don't really love part 8, but they do like the Jason from part 8. And some people like Jason Goes to Hell, and they like the Jason in that as well when it's actually on screen. So, I venturing away from supernatural, I always think limits the scope of the film or the scope of the story, because there's so much more fun you can have with that. And you can ground it and give it rules the same way that Tommy McLaughlin did in Thing. And speaking of Tommy McLaughlin, we do have a super chat. We need you and Tommy McLaughlin to collab for Jason Never Dies. I mean, Tommy and I have talked about it. I met with Tommy for breakfast at the Hollywood Diner in Hollywood, and we literally pitched each other on the same weekend. I told him about Never Hike in the Snow, and he told me about Jason Never Dies, and we were both making winter Jason movies, which was really, really funny. And Jason Never Dies is a day I have pitched to Tom many, many times that we should get on crowdfunding. We should get him 500, 600, $1 million and just turn him loose and just let's just come up with something. I know that he wants to work for the official franchise again, a fan film, and doing all that stuff really isn't something for, that's not what Tom does. Tom doesn't get up and get on social media all day and kind of do that stuff. So, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of extra work that he just wants to direct. He wants to make it traditionally, and I don't blame him. But I bet you that not only would I help him, James Sweet from Jason Rising would help him. I think we could build a really good team to get him to do that. So if fans hear this and they want to echo this to Tom to let him know that we would be more than happy to help him make Jason Never Dies come to life, maybe reunite him with CJ Graham, and bring back, I think that I don't know if Tommy's in that story, but it would be fun. And I've shot him in the snow before, so we can definitely get that. I like the show having a finite season plan. Something around 5 is great, not to meander. We could have a 5th season with a Roy type character. I think that would be fun. Oh God, no, I don't know what that means, but we'll go. The one thing that I hope they get rid of and clarify that Jason didn't rape Chris. Yes. I also hope that Pamela doesn't get raped. I hope that Jason's not a rape baby. That is so cliche. It's just done way too many times. And I think that Jason was Pamela put her trust in somebody and it didn't work out. I think that's the way. Crazy Ralph's going to be a fun character to explore too. I talked to somebody who would have been cast as Crazy Ralph if their friend had been hired as the showrunner. They did not get hired as the showrunner. It was another closed door in my face because they would have got me into the show, but that would have been fun. Crafter Films. This is a Never Hike Alone 3 question. Do you think Kyle, Anna, and Tommy Jarvis are going to be a part of Never Hike Alone 3? Right now, I do not have any large plans for those characters in the series. If I had to give you a little bit more of a backstory of where they went, I would say Anna moved away. Anna moved away. Anna moved away. And sort of was able to get over it. She found her body, the body of her son, and she moved somewhere where she was just going to find a little bit more peace. Kyle went home. And Tommy, I think, if I wish I had the money, but I think that Tommy left too. I think that Tommy finally left to go live a life with Megan. That's a storyline I couldn't afford to bring to life. But in my head, he was finally able to let Jason go, move on, and actually bring happy to his life and retire. And so that's what he ends up doing. So by the time Hikerman 5000 and his group of friends show up, it's sort of been dormant for a while, and no one's really been around the lake. And, really, people really feel like the curse is over. There really hasn't been anybody going missing. There hasn't been anything happening. So there's no reason to do there. I think if anything, the events of Never Hike Alone 3 will pique the interest of our old heroes. And maybe we get a cameo or a mid-credit scene or something like that. But, I think for the most part, the idea is that we want to introduce new characters. We want this to have its own life. And I want to sort of hand it off to the next generation to tell their own story. And I think it will also allow us to make a cheaper production as well. If it's the cast, I think it's going to be nobody SAG. We don't have to go SAG. We don't have to do any union stuff. We're going to shoot it really guerrilla. It's going to have a very much a look and feel of the first Never Hike Alone. So we'll see. We'll see how that kind of picks up. Love the idea of the curse pre-existing and Pamela keeping it going than Jason. It's almost as if thinking about it like Slender Man can manifest in nefarious aspects. Exactly. Do you want to mention your original comedy short, No Problemo? Yes, I should mention that. That's a good thing, Casey. So if there are any backers out there or previous campaigns or just have fans of this show, I'm currently working on a short film called No Problemo about a young business not executive, but junior executive who is dealing with a late night at work and dealing with toxic work culture and trying to make a balance between having a life and having a job that, you know, pays his bills. It's a comedy. It's really funny. I want to shoot it in my hometown of New Bedford, Massachusetts. Not so much my hometown, but place where I grew up, New Bedford, Massachusetts. And actually, I did live there for a year, so it is my hometown, or I lived there for a few years. Sorry to digress. But anyway, shooting this short called No Problemo. It's something that's probably going to cost around $10,000 to shoot. And instead of going directly towards doing a crowdfund, because we have Ghosts in the Fog coming up, we have Slay coming up, we have Ghost Chicken coming up. This is something that if there were anybody out there who wanted to come in and be a backer of this project, that you could contact me directly. I'm basically right now just collecting lists of names of people who would want to contribute. The contributions could be at any level. The only thing we're doing are credits and maybe some t-shirts or maybe a poster, one that I'm going to have crafted and I think I'll release and say, hey, if you want to come and buy a poster, or if you want to become an EP or an associate producer or any of those things, here are the prices. And we'll just keep a going tally until we raise enough money to shoot the film. I think that would be a great step for us creating more original content for this channel. We can do fundraisers on this. You guys can help me out with donating to the links that are actually in the comments of this or in the description of this video. There's our Cash App, there's our Venmo, there's our PayPal. So you can directly contact us through that or at wompstompfilms@gmail.com. Bing. You can contact us there and we'd love to tell you more about the project. I'm happy to let people read it. I'm happy to pitch it to you. We'll all get together. We'll get everyone's pledges on paper. And then once we're ready to shoot the film, we'd contact everybody. Everybody could make their transfers and then we'd go out and shoot the film and we'd have it done probably in a couple of weeks. It's not a large production. Like I said, it's probably a 10-page short, probably about 10 minutes long. And it's going to cost about $10,000 to do it. So triple tens, and we're making our way to the promised land with that one. So thank you for bringing that up, Casey. Definitely want to jump back into that. So let's see. You were there. Bam, Davey. Pamela's story becomes self-fulfilling prophecy of the cursed Camp Crystal Lake. I dig it. Me too. I really don't want him to be a kid and have survived his drowning, only to watch Pamela get killed. Never liked that aspect in the remake. Same. I think that him being there, I don't know why he would stop her, but I think what's going to happen is she's going to be such in rage mode that he's going to be afraid to approach her. And by the time that he tries to, it's going to be too late, which is going to make it poetic and sympathetic to realize that he could have done something about it and didn't. And that's a big reason why he continues to carry on the curse. It's not just a blind transfer of rage into an undead body that rises it from the dead and then carries on the rage. It's actually something that's spawned from guilt. And it's something that probably, if it sounds like I'm hitting on the head, guilt is going to be something that Jason deals with throughout the show, because he feels guilty that he's holding his mother back from a singing career. He feels guilty that she's keeping him back from a love life and having a normal life, and that he's really the problem. And so he removes himself. And so then he removes himself. His mother goes crazy. So he tries to console her. And before he can get to her, she ends up murdering everybody. And then herself gets murdered. And he realizes that it's all his fault. And so now he carries on that guilt and he carries on her rage, and he takes that out on anyone who comes around. I do think that there is a beautiful story there. It just, we just got to see how it's woven together. I'm also hope that somebody in Jason's life is a hockey collector or something, like that's why he has such an infatuation with it in part 3. That'd be funny. Maybe he gets it from Tommy. We need a late night horror movie for the fans at theaters to get together. I remember the best theater experience from a kid was in middle school. Last showing horror, we were all losing it. So much fun. I agree. I mean, I miss the days where like going to the theater was like a big thing. Sons and Shadows is in. Tommy Jarvis loved his mask as well. Like we're on the same page there. Crawling Chaos. I think if they dedicated an episode, the original Friday the 13th, it would be interesting to see it all through the eyes of Pamela, since she was the killer. I think maybe they do that. Maybe there's going to be instances where we watch the same night at Camp Blood, but we jump from a different character every episode. So it's the same night 8 times, and it's just from a different character's perspective. And maybe that's the character who gets killed that week. Does that make sense? That'd be kind of cool. Just because your hair looks great, oh, thank you. Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, I'm working on it. It's getting longer. It's getting fuller. Finally using the right product on it. And oh, thank you so much. Oh my God, guys, looking floofy. Yeah, I know. I blow dried it the right way tonight. I'm not wearing a hat. I didn't wear a hat all day. No bastard baby of any maniacs. Yep, I don't want that. Oh wow, this is way far behind. Look at these guys throwing up the big money. Ronnie, how you doing, buddy? I hope all's well. Dang, I'm gonna know how much money Vince made after this live. I know. I'm just like racking it in tonight. I really appreciate everybody. I mean, all this stuff. I gotta say, the channel has been growing over the year. Like last week, we hit 90,000 views. I mean, not 90,000 views. We got 90,000 subscribers last week. So thank you everybody for joining. With more subscribers, with the way I have I've been working on the channel, it's actually been making a steady income, which isn't pretty bad. It's not that I can live off it or anything, but it's actually what it's helping with is it's actually extra funding to help with shipping. So every month I get, an extra few $100 in shipping, things, and it helps for us as money comes in. So I really do appreciate it. You are helping us, continue to be able to do what we do. And I can actually take these funds and help build it up towards No Problemo as well. I'm about running out of the, Fachi Cinema's here, popping in at the end. Oh man, I'm about to crash out here. I'm happy that Bashzilla got his Never Hike Alone Blu-rays. The Never Hike Alone Blu-rays are out. So I'm going to start wrapping up. Let me remove comment real quick. I'm going to do that. I'm going to also put myself over here. Couple of reminders. I actually got to go farther over. Pew. There we go. All right. So April 26th through the 27th, I'm going to be at Monster Expo Resurrection, halfway to Halloween in Fairhaven, Massachusetts. I'm going to be there with Tom Matthews, CJ Graham, Linnea Quigley, and Eugene Clark. So if you haven't got tickets yet, I suggest you do that now. Come out and check out and have some fun with us. Once again, the New Bedford Film Festival is coming soon. This year, we're going to be at this venue right here, the Steeple Playhouse. It's going to be really great to have everybody here for theatrical screenings. We'll be at Gallery X. We'll probably do we're doing frame, story by frame, story in a frame, where we, everybody's films are up. So we have all that stuff. Here's a view of the team. Actually, let me drop myself. Pew, there I go. So this is our team, or a big part of our team that's helping bringing it together. So definitely come out and support independent cinema in New Bedford, Massachusetts. It will be greatly appreciated. And is there anything else I have to share or do? No, it's not there. All right. Change the background one more time. Okay, everybody, that's going to be it for the Ghost Files this week. Like I said, I'm going to be out for the next couple of weeks. You probably will not see me until, let's look at a date. I'll give you guys something concrete. All right, so April 18th. Wow, it's going to be a little bit, wow. Yeah, so April 18th is probably going to be the next Ghost Files. By then, we're going to have more updates about Never Hike Alone. We're going to have more updates about No Problemo. We're going to have hopefully more updates about Crystal Lake, and we'll dive into those things when it's right. If in between any big news does jump up, definitely check back with the channel, because I definitely want to be a little bit more on the ball with, as things drop about Crystal Lake, I will be coming to the channel, doing a Ghost Files live, and we'll be talking about this show, because as you know, I'm all about Friday the 13th. All I want to do is talk about Friday the 13th. I wouldn't have made Never Hike Alone if I didn't spend 15 years in chat rooms talking about Friday the 13th, telling people what I wanted to watch. But Alley Girl's sad. It's going to be too long. Well, like I said, I'll try to come back in between. Wait, what? Anna's doing a ghost Jason? I gotta see this. So you got to send in a picture of this, and we'll share it on the channel once you get it done. Jacob showing in late again. Well, you're gonna have to rewind and watch everything. We went over some really fun stuff. I've been sending Jacob some stuff. oh my God, actually, there's a big ghost chicken date update this week. I'm going to do something real quick for everybody here. I can't do anything official just yet, but we have character designs in progress. So that's all you're getting for this week. Another week coming up. We'll jump into some of them. I got 3 more characters coming up. I also got some cool stuff from Juan. So there's some new imagery for Ghost in the Fog, which I'll show right now. You can kind of see. Boop. Pretty cool, huh? Anyway, the stuff is really coming together. I can't wait to talk more about that stuff. We'll be coming back in a few weeks. We'll be launching. Man, I got so much work to do. We'll talk about when we're going to be able to launch all that fun stuff. The upcoming, remember Ghost in the Fog is going to be launching soon. Slay is going to be launching soon. Ghost Chicken's going to be launching in the next coming months. So this is going to be great. So anyway, what an episode. So, if you're just tuning in now and you haven't watched the show live, definitely leave your thoughts in the comments about what you want to see in the Crystal Lake TV show. If you're watching now, do the same. Once I go live, jump into the comments of this episode. I want to hear some of your fan theories. I want to hear some of your thoughts on the series, whether it's good or positive. Comments that stand out, I'm going to read every single one of them. I'm going to respond to every single one of them. The comments that stand out, I will bring up in future shows. We will talk about them. We'll have live debates. If you're watching live and you're in the comments, we'll go back and forth and we'll do all that fun stuff. I got one more question before I'm going to go. Will the Blu-ray poster bundles be shipping soon? Know you guys are hard at work. I'm curious. So let me just lower this. This right here, that's the stack of poster stuff that just came in. Right here is a stack of posters. So yes, we actually are going to be working on the posters very soon. We're almost done with the single individual Blu-rays. I actually have another set of 100 poster folders out in the other room ready to ship posters. So I'm ready. Let me see. There's some of the posters over there. I'm going to be right back. Hang on. Cool. So the other thing I brought into the studio this week is we have the beanies, neon and traditional. Bing, bong, bing. Oh, show it that. There you go. Boo. Super durable. I love them. I have 2 of them for myself that I wear on and off. And they're just amazing. If you're a hunter or if you run at night, the neon beanie is really great. I did get your thing. Was missing some stickers from the bundle in mine. Hope it's okay that yeah, it did. I will send you those stickers. That won't be a big deal. And then let me see. I want to see Jason crossover into TMT world and become Super Jason like Super Shredder. I would watch that. Maybe if they ever do the animated show that I was pitching, we could do a crossover. Jason meets the Ninja Turtles. But anyway, everybody, it has been real. It's been as real as it gets. Leave your comments about Crystal Lake in the thing. And with all that said, I hope everyone has a great weekend. Stay safe, stay out of the woods, and remember to never hike alone. See you guys next week, and I will see you on the trail. Not next week, but in a few weeks. And until then, I'll see you on the trails. Good night.